How's it going, everybody? My name is Ben. Been a while. Welcome back to Team Victory Star's YouTube channel. I'm here today with a deck profile on a list I ran pretty successfully recently. I've played in a couple of League Cup championships with it and had only one loss in Swiss over those two. Made top 8 in one of them and top 4 in another. So let's just get right to it. It's MMewtwo, the psychic variety. We like damage change. Damage change is a lot of fun. So it's a pretty straightforward list, so let's just hop right in. Firstly, we've got 4 Mewtwo EX with damage change. Those, pretty straightforward. It got the Shatter Shot for 1 psychic energy, does 30 times the amount of psychic energies attached to it. Then damage change for 2 psychic energy and a colorless energy. It will switch the damage counters between the 2 active Pokemon. Next, we've got the primary attacker of the deck, MMewtwo EX. Psychic Infinity for 2 colorless energy, does 10 damage plus 30 more damage for each of the energies attached to either active Pokemon. And that can stack up really quick. Next, we've got 2 Trubbish. That's mostly just there because Garbodor is really good. Shutting off abilities can really cripple a lot of the decks in the format right now, and I cannot tell you how helpful that can be against things like Volcanion, things like Yveltal when they shut down your tools. Well, let's shut down their abilities so they can't do that. Let's not waste that turn Mega Evolving. And then there is the big man himself, Garbodor. Garbotoxin, as long as it's got a Pokemon tool card attached to it, it has the only ability in play. So now more for some setup. We've got Hoopa EX, just a one of on that one. That will let you search for up to 3 Pokemon EX, show them to your opponent and put them into your hand. And then, of course, the card everybody hates to get but loves to play, Shaman EX. You play it from your hand to your bench, you draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. So that's all for the Pokemon lines. Next we'll get right into the supporter lines. First on the list, for Professor Sycamore, best draw supporter in the game, bar none. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. Straightforward, does the job really, really well. Next is a good thick line of N. I run 3. I really like N. It's probably the best, most balanced card in the game. Each player shuffles their hand into their deck and draws as many cards as they have prize cards remaining. And let me tell you that if you get into 1 late game, that can murder you. 2 Lysander, because we like being able to target whatever we want, or in some cases, if we're really desperate, pull something up with a nice big retreat cost and let it sit there while we try to dig ourselves out of whatever hole it is we're in at the moment. Never seen a deck that I really, really liked since Lysander came out that didn't run at least 1. I like 2 because they're consistent. Pokemon Center Lady, I like it, it's fun, it's not going to be useful in every game. There's going to be a lot of games where you're just trading one-shots, but on the games where they just like to start to chip away at you, Pokemon Center Lady can really mess with them, or if they put you to sleep or paralyze you, goodness knows how, but this can be a really good way of getting out of that. So that's it for the supporter lines. And so now we'll hop right into the item cards, which start out with what is effectively an extension of the supporter lines. 4 Versus Seekers, you put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. Every deck should be running 4 of those unless it's an item lock deck that also shuts you down, in which case, well, you're going to want to run as few items as possible. But every other deck, that's going to be huge. Next, we've got 4 Ultra Balls, again a staple in almost every deck. You really need that turn 1 Ultra Ball to go get the Hoopa, fill up your bench with as many Mewtwo's as you can, hopefully get a Trubbish in there. You obviously can't get that with Hoopa, but typically what you're going to do with that is you're going to Ultra Ball away a couple of cards, grab the Hoopa, and then get 2 Mewtwo EX as well as a Shaman to give you some draw support after burning so many cards to play the Hoopa. Next, we have a little bit in the way of recovery. We run 4 Mega Turbos. Now this is a really handy card for Mega decks. It lets you search your discard pile for a basic energy and attach it directly to one of your Mega Evolved Pokemon. In the case of this deck, that's only going to be MMewtwo. And that can really help you when you've just lost a big Mewtwo that had a bunch of energy cards on it. You need to recover quickly. Drop a couple of Mega Turbos and people start crying. So, as our last for the deck, in terms of item cards, we've got Mewtwo Spirit Links. Mandatory in this deck. I like 4. Some people like 3. I honestly don't understand that, because with as many times as I whiff Mega Mewtwo Spirit Links, even at a 4 of, I don't understand how anybody can run less than that. It just, you can't afford to give up a turn to Mega Evolve. Next, we've got 3 Float Stones. Now, the Float Stones are mostly for Garbodor, to not have to put a Spirit Link on a Garbodor, because then it's got 3 retreat costs and you don't want to have to pay that. It gives the Garb free retreat, and it's the tool for Garb's Garbotoxin ability, which, as I said before, shuts off all abilities in play that aren't called Garbotoxin. You do occasionally need to put one on a Hoopa or a Shaman or something like that, but typically those are going to go onto a Trubbish or Garbodor as soon as possible. Now, a 2 of Trainer's Mail. I've actually, since doing these runs in League Cups, I've actually taken these out and started playing with a pair of Escape Ropes instead, because switching cards are really, really helpful, and sometimes you just need to get, say, a Jolteon of your opponents out of the active, or, well, Jolteon's not going to hurt you too much with this deck, but Glaceon or Regice, which incidentally is why I started playing it, because there was a lot of play of Regice, some Glaceon, and I just didn't have an answer for it. That's actually my only loss in Swiss with this deck in those 2 League Cups that I did, was to a Regice Glaceon Garbodor deck. So, the Trainer's Mails, like I said, I've taken those out, but they're good for consistency if you do run them. Next, we've got Super Rod. I only run 1, but I had to find the room for the Super Rod because originally the list was not running it. When you're only running 1 Garbodor, you need Super Rod. You need to be able to get it back consistently, and that's probably the only way you'll be able to do that. Because Buddy Buddy Rescue is bad in this deck. Puzzle of Time is even worse in this deck. Basically, the Super Rod can save your life. Onto Stadiums. 2 Shrine of Memories. That one's mostly just for the damage change, to be able to use damage change when you've got a Mega Evolved Mewtwo. And I gotta tell you, when they hit you for about 180, and then you Lysander up some other target and damage change it onto that target and clean yourself off, that can swing games really easily, and it can really mess up your opponent's plans. Because they're thinking, okay, I'm going to get him next turn, I can just put all this damage here this turn, get him next turn, and then suddenly that damage is gone. That really messes with people. Now, I do run a 2-2 split of my stadiums. The other one is Parallel City. Parallel City is insanely helpful for decks like Mega Rayquaza, for example, the colorless variety with Emerald Break. If you get a Garbodor into play and then you drop the Parallel City on them and cut their bench to 3, you've pretty much won right then and there, because they very rarely have a way to recover from that. So they're doing hopefully 90 damage for the next several turns while you're hitting them for some absurd amount of damage. Finally, we've got the energy line. I run 7 basic psychic energy to allow for the use of damage change, and sometimes Shatter Shot when we're really desperate. Although the really fun thing is when you have that Shrine of Memories in play, if you're in trouble and you need to get rid of some energy instead of capitalize on them attaching too much by hitting them with Psychic Infinity, what's really fun to do is throw up Garbodor, put a Psychic Energy on it, and use Trubbish's Acid Spray, which it only does 10 damage, but you also flip a coin, and if heads, you discard an energy attached to their active Pokemon. It's basically a Crushing Hammer plus 10 damage, and that can be a lot of fun. I've won games doing that. It's ridiculous. Finally, 4 double colorless energy. Pretty straightforward. Psychic Infinity, it adds 60 damage immediately. Sometimes you're going to need to use Sky Return or something like that, or maybe Retreat a Hoopa, but mostly that's just for the attacks. So, for the Psychic Infinity. So, there we have it. Psychic Mega Mewtwo Garbodor. As I said, I do also sometimes run the double escape rope instead of the trainer's mails, but for the most part, this is a pretty solid list. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.